The first red flag wasn't this streamlined transition, mandatory attendance, calendar invite. It was the time, 6:47 a.m. Not 6:30, not 7:47 past 6. The kind of schedule designed by someone who owns a Peloton, a ring light, and exactly zero empathy. Lena Morgan walked into conference room C with the composure of someone who double encrypts their backup strategy. Hair still damp from the shower, a worn Rolling Stones tee under a sharp blazer, coffee in hand, silence in tow. Across the table sat Max Brighton, CTO and living embodiment of a motivational LinkedIn post, flanked by two HR reps who looked like they were preparing to offer grief counseling and gluten-free pastries. "Lena," Max said, flashing a mechanical smile. "You've been such a vital part of the team. But as we upgrade our systems, certain legacy positions, well, they evolve. And so must the people in them." HR Karen chimed in like she was reading bedtime legalese. "This is a redundancy-based transition, not performance-related." Max gave a short laugh. "Software replaced you." Just that. No gratitude. No offer to consult. Just a smug statement, like a teenager bragging that he automated his mom's cooking with AI and a smart oven. Lena didn't respond. Just tightened her grip on the coffee cup until the lid cracked slightly. Quick break. If you're one of the 97% listening without subscribing, this is the exact sort of betrayal that powers our caffeine habits and chaotic storytelling. Hit subscribe. It keeps this team coding rage into catharsis. Back to Lena. HR handed her a folder like it was a holiday card instead of a professionally worded death certificate. She scanned page 1, then 2. Page 4 stopped her. Her termination date. Exactly 2 days before her contract's automatic renewal clause kicked in. 2 days. Just enough to cheat her out of another cycle. Any questions? HR Karen chirped, already jotting down a note that suspiciously resembled, smiled during dismissal, concerning. Lena looked up, eyes cold, locking onto Max like she was targeting a system vulnerability. "I wrote the license," she said, flatly. Max just nodded, oblivious or dismissive. "Of course, and we're grateful. That's why we're flying in the new team next week. You'll help with the handoff. Shouldn't take more than a couple hours." She nodded once, slow and controlled. Every muscle in her neck resisted the urge to leap over the table and uninstall his breathing rights. The meeting ended like a low-budget breakup, stilted words, performative concern, a forced handshake. Lena walked out carrying a folder in one hand and a tornado tucked in her spine. She didn't cry, didn't yell, didn't say, "You'll regret this." She just walked back to her desk, logged in for the last time, and marked it. License trigger 9, countdown initiated. T-minus 46 hours. By the time the office lights dimmed that night, Lena had secured everything that mattered. Code commits. Notes. Contingency logs. A Clause 9C had lived inside Orion Ops licensing structure since version 2.3.9, a small, forgotten paragraph no one ever read because it sounded like legal filler. Termination of employment voids deployment license. No auto-renew upon involuntary separation. License key invalidated immediately upon revocation. No grace. No recovery. Legal had approved it 6 years ago. Because no one listens to the woman who built the thing they're standing on. But they would now. The exit interview reeked of toner and insincerity. HR had the thermostat set to emotional freeze, and the compliance officer looked like she practiced her empathy in front of a YouTube tutorial. "Let's go through the separation checklist," she chirped, as if this was a game show and not the disassembly of Lena's decade of effort. Laptop, access badge, work phone, all returned. Soul, meanwhile, was still stuck in a queue somewhere between sarcasm and fury. Each signature Lena made was another scalpel stroke across the life she'd built at Corvallis. Each checked box rang like a bell toll. "Just a reminder," the officer said, tapping a page with all the gravitas of Comic Sans font. "Your NDA remains active for 3 years. That covers infrastructure, client data, logs." Lena blinked. They didn't get it. She was the infrastructure, the schema, the admin backend. They were trying to protect her from herself. HR chimed in from the corner, sipping what smelled like recycled printer ink. We're excited for the transition. Our partners at Hydriot begin Orion Ops maintenance next week. New perspectives. Lena smiled faintly. They'll need one. Oh yes, the compliance officer said. They've already suggested containerizing the deployment to run smoother on AWS. Lena tilted her head. Bold. Hope they enjoy kernel panics. No one laughed. At exactly 2:16 p.m., her employment status changed. That timestamp echoed across 6 servers, for databases, and her personal encrypted Git repo labeled good_luck_max JSON. She reached into her bag, pulled out the severance paperwork, and flipped to the fine print, clause 14.3, where they'd tried to slip in a forfeiture of derivative work rights and future royalties. Nice try, she said, pushing it back across the table. I'm declining the severance. The compliance officer blinked. Excuse me? Amendments are unacceptable. I won't be signing. But that means forfeiting the payout, HR said, stunned. Lena shrugged. I'll manage. Legal barely looked up. That's your call. She stood. No grand speech. No mic drop. Just the soft sound of fabric and the hard click of the door behind her. Back home, she powered up her personal rig, a machine she'd built herself, humming like a weapon under restraint. She accessed the private license interface she alone had designed, entered the timestamp of her termination, uploaded her separation letter, punched in her master O key, still valid for 17 more minutes, scrolled to the line. Orion Ops license, auto-renew override. Typed, nullify. Clicked, save. Registry updated. License status, expired, pending verification. Rollback scheduled, T+9 hours post-termination. She leaned back, walked to the kitchen, poured a whiskey over 3 cubes. Somewhere, Max Brighton was likely ordering a protein shake, bragging about how leadership means making hard calls. Lena sipped. Let's see how he likes my kind of disruption. By 9 a.m. the next day, Lena was back at Corvlex. No armor, just a lanyard and the expression of a woman who could wait out an apocalypse. They wanted her to train the new dev team. Knowledge transfer, they called it, like you could compress 10 years of labor and logic into a 30-minute PowerPoint between catered raps and condescension. She sat at the front of the room, projector wheezing beside her, while 5 engineers in matching hoodies stared blankly at their screens like preschoolers at naptime meltdown. The one closest to her, some smug little tech bro knockoff named Travis, had the audacity to wear noise-canceling headphones during the session. Slide 6, Lena said, clicking the remote. This is the traffic arbitration layer. Documentation is thin, so listen close. If you deploy without tuning the mutex weights in the nodular queue, you'll hit a deadlock the moment the system's under strain. Travis lifted a hand, without looking up. We'll probably just rebuild it on AWS. Microservices, containers, the whole shebang. Lena smiled, slow and sharp. Best of luck recreating multi-node failover from scratch. Especially since one of the nodes is a deliberate ghost to keep legacy SFTP integrations from collapsing. Another developer blinked. Wait, what? She moved on. It's called protective spoofing. Came up with it during the 2017 logistics outage, while you were probably still Googling, what's a semaphore? Silence. A few awkward taps on keyboards. One guy jotted down spoofing, like it was a forbidden curse in a fantasy novel. They weren't absorbing any of it. They thought Stack Overflow and copy-paste wizardry could make up for understanding. They couldn't see they were walking into a minefield of context they didn't know existed. By noon, the knowledge transfer had descended into chaos. Vibe-based learning at best. Travis had YouTube open in another tab. Someone else tried to impress her with a joke about moving all logging to Firebase. Tell your uptime SLA, I said good luck, she muttered. By 1 p.m., she was back at her desk for the final time. Her things were already boxed up, but she sat anyway, out of habit, out of ritual. She logged in. No one had revoked access yet, typical. IT probably assumed someone else would do it. She opened the Orion Ops master commit log. 10 years. 14,000 commits. Her digital fingerprints stained every inch of it. Rollback sequences. Failsafes. The hidden April Fool's joke in the admin dashboard that played a cat gif. She selected the latest production branch, Orion Ops Prod version 9.4.2, and exported a clean build. No company logos. No license headers. Just stripped-down architecture, rebranded under her LLC. Nightingale Systems, LLC. Registered in Delaware. 5 years ago. Waiting. She encrypted the build twice. Compressed the archive. Then sent it to a dead-drop email with a subject line. Legacy load. No one else would see it. Just her. Maybe one day, a company smart enough to pay for brilliance would. The moment was thick. Still. Like the air before a thunderstorm. She opened the internal badge system, entered her admin code, and found her profile. Deactivate user ID. L. Morgan. She hovered. Clicked. Access removed. No alarms. No noise. Just a silent snap of the cord tethering her to the beast she'd fed with sleepless nights and cases of sparkling water. As she walked out, Max passed her in the hall, sipping some fluorescent green sludge. Calling it a day? He asked, like she was ducking out of a networking mixer.
She didn't stop.
I'd wish you luck, she said without turning. But I think you'll need more than that. She dropped her lanyard at the front desk like a sheriff hanging up her star, walked through the glass doors, and didn't look back. Outside, the sun was fierce. She didn't squint. There was work to do, a timer to beat. See, revenge doesn't erupt from nowhere. It builds. Quiet. Rust beneath chrome. Patient and sure. Lena hadn't always been someone who could drop a company with a keystroke. She started as the girl fixing broken cron jobs at midnight while janitors vacuumed around her sleeping bag. 10 years ago, Orion Ops was a mess of sticky notes and half-finished scripts duct taped to hope. Corvalix? Just a mid-tier logistics outfit pretending to wear a tech halo. Their systems were bubblegum and panic. Lena made them solid. Resilient. Survive a nuclear winter resilient. There was the night in 2015 when their East Coast data center caught fire because someone plugged a space heater into a surge protector. Everyone panicked. Lena drove to the office in pajama pants and rerouted traffic from the lobby on her personal laptop. Her VPN login was more secure than their firewall. She didn't get a bonus. Just a mug. Corvalix crew, we deliver. The handle broke after a week. She kept working. Weekends blurred. Birthdays missed. She skipped weddings, skipped funerals, skipped meals. Woke up muttering error codes. Slept beside Slack pings. Orion Ops wasn't code anymore. It was blood. Her code was littered with whispered pleas. CPP.
Copy edit.
// please don't fail during rollout / SLA critical. Fix when awake / only I remember why this works. Don't delete. Then came 2019. A minor layoff. 12% cut. HR's term. Strategic resizing. Lena called it a flare. The dev who wrote the original scheduler?
Gone.
No warning. 2 weeks later, their pipeline imploded because no one knew where the staging certs lived. Lena patched it with a bash script and a half-drunk Coke Zero. Then she added Clause 9C. It sat buried in the licensing logic. Not hidden, just overlooked. One sentence among thousands of lines of boilerplate. If original creator is involuntarily terminated, license auto-renewal shall void. Expiration triggered at next heartbeat check post-separation. Legal rubber-stamped it. Engineering leadership didn't read beyond bullet points. Marketing wouldn't recognize a license key if it hit them. It slept. Until now. That evening, wrapped in a blanket, a muted Frasier episode playing on her TV, Lena opened LinkedIn. Max Brighton's smug grin topped a blog post titled, "Tomorrow is Now. Corvalix launches Automation 2.0." She tapped it. The post overflowed with corporate jargon. Disruption. Streamlining. Modernization. Goodbye to outdated legacy systems. Hello, innovation. A photo showed a staged engineering team grinning in front of a whiteboard covered in nonsense, hex scribbles, random arrows, maybe even a cat doodle. Her stomach twisted. They hadn't just erased her. They threw a confetti parade over her grave. She bookmarked the post. Not for sentiment. For evidence. One day soon, those same words would rot. She opened her laptop. Logged into her license management dashboard. Verification. Scheduled rollback confirmed. Heartbeat ping. Enabled. Interval. 6 hours. There it was. Counting down. Death. Quiet and systemic. A bash script nested inside Corvalix's GitHub like a sleeping viper. Hidden in a batch of 12 maintenance patches from 2 years ago. Every 6 hours, it pings the license endpoint. If terminated, the return flips to false. No alert. No error. Just cascade failure. By the time they notice, it'll be too late. And no one will know where to look. She leaned back, propped her feet on the coffee table. Opened the Corvalix blog again. Max Brighton's face beamed from the screen, airbrushed, self-congratulatory, wrapped in buzzwords. Gratitude. Progress.
Partnership.
She smiled. Just a flicker. Let's see how grateful they feel at 12:01. Looking back while promising innovation, the company blog painted a cheerful future for Orion Ops. Lena read it like a seasoned commander deciphering enemy morale. As we move into automation, we want to acknowledge Lena Morgan's pivotal contributions. Her poise and dedication during this transition have set a standard.
Poise.
Dedication. Lena snorted into her tea. They really believed she'd left with gratitude and a foam yoga roller. No one caught the clues. Her socials had gone silent. Twitter locked, LinkedIn ghosted. GitHub inactive like a transmission had cut out. But Lena hadn't vanished. She was observing. Watching each smug blog comment, every proud microservices flex, all the recruiters who thought she was suddenly on the job market. She wasn't idle. She was loaded. Emails rolled in. A Boston startup wanted an architect to rebuild their backend. A Denver logistics firm dangled a bonus the size of a house down payment. She ignored them. One task remained. Lena navigated to the last section of her script. A final safeguard. The confirmation key. She entered her encrypted private token and hit authorize. It was ready. At 12:01 a.m., the routine license check would run as usual. But this time, instead of a green light, it would return error 4001. Unauthorized. Clause 9C in action. No sirens, no fireworks. Just a silent cascading failure across 32 production nodes. The CTO would rest easy, dreaming of future product launches, clueless that he'd already lost. Lena closed her laptop and started browsing beach rentals in Portugal. She had the rarest kind of time, the time that follows the calm click of a countdown. The time of someone who planted a mine and walked away. 12:01 a.m. Like clockwork, the first heartbeat ping fired. Hidden in the framework's marrow, it reached the licensing endpoint. No handshake, just rejection. Clause 9C triggered. License terminated. The system didn't explode. It bled. Services began to drop. Microservices failed authentication. Node clusters went dark. Auto-scaling froze. The cache backend choked mid-packet, scrambling 3 transaction queues before timing out. By 1:24 a.m., the Orion Ops dashboard didn't show errors. It showed nothing. A digital flatline. An overnight ops technician thought it was a UI bug. He rebooted. No change. He pinged Slack. Silence. By 12:42, West Coast warehouses were missing orders. At 1:16, a checksum error halted East Coast inventory syncing. By 2:02, the load balancer feeding into their API hit a dead endpoint, spun its wheels for 30 minutes, then shut itself down in exhaustion. Orion had been built to work invisibly, without complaint. Now, it failed with equal discretion. At 3:23 a.m., CTO Max Brighton, darling of tech podcasts and disruptor panels, was shaken awake by a grim text. Orion is down. He logged in from bed, still in silk pajamas, cursing softly. Already drafting a PR post about unexpected cloud turbulence. Then he saw it. License expired. Renewal required via primary authority. Owner, Nightingale Systems LLC. His face went white. He tried clearing cache, rebooting, rerunning flags. Every command echoed back the same. Unauthorized, bound to original creator, revoked on separation. By 4 a.m., a key logistics partner called the CEO. Orders weren't moving.
Tracking was dead.
Labels were printing blanks. The CEO, groggy and livid, barked, "Why is our system acting possessed?" Max, scrolling frantically through contract PDFs, finally admitted, "I think we triggered a license kill switch." The CEO paused, then exhaled, stunned. "She what?" Back at Corvalix HQ, junior developers scrambled. They searched for logs. None could access the root shell. One even Googled Orion Ops reset password, like this was a WordPress site. Failures multiplied. Timed-out requests, misrouted shipments, and cryptic errors written in a logging language Lena had never documented. A manager asked if they could restore a backup. Max, pale as ash, said, "Backups still validate the license." By dawn, Slack had turned into a battlefield. Legal tried to contact Lena. IT hunted for a version untouched by Clause 9C. Finance ran penalty estimates per minute of outage. Lena, meanwhile, was walking through a quiet park. Hoodie up, earbuds in, thermos of tea, the sky just waking. Her breath curled like steam. A robin perched nearby. She smiled. The sun was rising. The system was not. Justice was now self-sustaining. At 6:37 a.m. Eastern, an emergency board call convened. Everyone looked wrecked. Hair uncombed. Caffeine levels dire. Faces blank from financial trauma. Max joined the Zoom, camera off, voice jittering. "It appears to be a license issue tied to our core platform," he mumbled. "Likely triggered by a clause in the Orion Ops framework." The CEO was speechless. The CFO blinked rapidly behind fogged glasses. "Licensing," the COO barked. "I thought we owned Orion Ops. We paid to build it." Max opened the original PDF.
Yes.
"I mean, no. We contracted it. But the license." Legal, camera on, looked like she'd fought through a tornado. "Clause 9C, she said hoarsely. "In the event of creator's involuntary termination without cause, license auto-renewal is void. Expires on first failed heartbeat check. Ownership reverts to the creator. Nightingale Systems, LLC." The call went silent. Tense. "Hello. What LLC?" the CFO asked. "Nightingale Systems," legal replied. "Registered in Delaware 5 years ago. Listed in the copyright on every core file." The CEO looked like glass about to crack. "That's Lena's company," Max whispered, crushed. "We never migrated the source repo. We forked the scripts but left the headers." The board chair raised both hands as if to physically halt reality. "Are you telling us we build our company on software we don't own and just fired the person who does?" Max nodded, hesitated, then stammered. We're reaching out. We're trying to negotiate." Legal had already stepped in. "We'd made an attempt." Her attorney responded with a single line, "Terms enforced as written." Panic spread like a fast-moving virus through the call. One board member turned off his camera. Another was furiously typing, probably alerting a crisis PR firm. The CFO pressed his fingers to his temples. "We've got perishable shipments stuck in Chicago, and a $20 million penalty clause activates at noon. She controls the operations license." "How?" someone snapped. "Because we didn't read beyond the footnotes," legal said grimly. "She buried it like a dormant warhead. And we handed her the launch keys." The CEO unmuted at last, voice barely a thread. "Get her on the line." Max avoided the camera, face pale and damp. "I don't think she's answering." "Then make her an offer," the CEO said, voice breaking. "I don't care what it takes. Just fix this." Legal exhaled. "She'll fix it, but not on our terms." Across the city, Lena stood barefoot on her balcony, coffee in hand, jasmine in the air, and justice on the breeze. Her phone buzzed. A familiar number first. Then a text from an unknown sender. "Lena, please. Let's talk. We're ready to negotiate." She smiled faintly. Let them sweat. She wasn't done. She didn't dress up for the meeting. No makeup. No jacket. Just an old gray hoodie, chipped nails, and a mug that read, "Not my circus, not my monkeys in Comic Sans." She joined the Zoom from her kitchen. A shaft of sunlight cut across the counter like karma's spotlight. "Morning," she said, like she'd been invited to brunch instead of a corporate meltdown. Max Brighton's camera stayed dark. Legal launched in, trying to maintain calm. "We just need clarification on the license language. If there's been any misunderstanding." "There hasn't," Lena said, her tone razor-sharp. "You fired me without cause, triggering the system's auto-cancel protocol. The software did exactly what I programmed it to do. It's legally binding. I have the timestamps, code repository, and email records." Legal forced a grin. Corvalix heavily funded the infrastructure. "We could argue shared IP. I filed copyright on Orion Ops Corp 5 months ago." Lena cut in, holding up a single printed document like a royal flush. Full codebase. Annotated. Time-stamped. Digitally notarized. "Want the record number?" Silence. No one even blinked. Someone audibly gasped. Max unmuted. "Lena, let's be reasonable." Her eyes locked on the camera. "You told me automation made me obsolete. Now it's silent, and you're calling the ghost for help." The CFO cleared his throat. "What do you want?" She didn't blink. Didn't smile. She named her terms. "You can relicense Orion Ops. At double the original rate. Prepaid annually. Not perpetual. The SLA includes me as lead consulting architect for 2 years. I retain creative control. You also issue a public retraction of your automation announcement. Every blog post must reflect that Orion Ops was created and maintained by Nightingale Systems, LLC. My name stays attached." A board member gave a hollow laugh. "God help us," he muttered.
She was playing chess.
"We were eating glue." Another exec rubbed his face. "This is extortion." "No," Lena said, dry as desert wind. "This is the clean exit. Your other option is watching your entire supply chain collapse while I sip tea." Legal opened her mouth. "Shut it." Looked down. The CEO, camera on but spirit clearly elsewhere, finally responded. "Send the agreement. We'll have it reviewed." "You can read it," Lena said, standing up. "But don't change a word. These aren't suggestions. They're the cost of underestimating the person who built the very system you're drowning in." She ended the meeting without waiting for a response. Not smug, not gleeful, just at peace, finally done waiting for recognition and having written her value into the contract herself. At 11:59 p.m., Lena opened her laptop. She was at a beachfront cafe, salt and citrus on the breeze. The waves didn't care about uptime. She opened the contract. No edits. No jargon. Just her demands, item by item, each one like a haiku of justice in Helvetica. She scrolled to the last page and signed. Lena Morgan, Principal, Nightingale Systems, LLC. When she hit send, the license went live. 1,200 miles away, 32 Corvalix servers roared back like Lazarus on broadband. Logs came online. Queues unfroze. Dashboards erupted in data. Orders flowed. APIs stopped timing out. Distribution centers came alive, blissfully unaware of their savior. The night shift posted one line in Slack. "Everything's green." Max Brighton wasn't around to see it. He'd resigned hours earlier. No email, no party, just a forwarded Gmail thread and ghosted exit. His replacement's welcome packet still sat unread. Waiting for someone foolish or bold enough to take the throne Lena now ruled from afar. Buried deep in that contract, beneath fees and SLAs, sat one final clause. Consulting architect Nightingale Systems retains design authority and override access for Orion Ops for 24 months. Compensation: 3x former full-time salary. Lena hadn't just returned. She came back with dominion. As the sun dipped into the ocean, overhead lights flickered on. Lena sipped wine, opened her feed. Corvalix had posted their retraction, a formal apology, by name. Called her a visionary. Blamed the outage on legacy licensing misalignment. She snorted into her drink. Visionary now, huh? Then her phone buzzed. New email. Subject: Infrastructure consultation, action 2. Message: Saw what you pulled at Corvlex. Let's rebuild from the ground up. Name your rate. Lena leaned back, salt air curling into her hoodie sleeves. She typed one line. Depends who writes the license. Then she hit send. Because the most dangerous employee isn't the loud one. It's the one who observes, documents, and waits. And when the moment comes, they don't shout.
They own.